Hey, good day, folks. Welcome to another episode of Andrew's Life. We are going to be driving through the city of Centerville, Georgia. So, hope everyone's buckled in and have your favorite snacks handy and all that wonderful stuff. So, welcome to the beautiful city of Centerville, Georgia, which is located in Houston County. It is 25 minutes from Macon, Georgia, and only 11 minutes from Warner Robins, Georgia, which that video will be coming up in the very near future. Stay tuned for it. The population of Centerville, Georgia, is 8,089 people, and this city has experienced a population growth of 13% as of the 2020 census. And basically, this city has been a growing city. It has been growing at a constant rate ever since they began to keep track of the census here back in 1960. Now, back in 1960, the population was only 290 people. And then by the 1970 census, the city has grown to 1,725 people. If you break down the math, that will be 494.8% growth between the 1960 to the 1970 census. And I believe after that, the city done grew by another 52%. So basically, this has been a growing city ever since they began keeping track of the census. Now, this city is over an hour from Atlanta, Georgia, and it's only 25 minutes to Macon. So, given how far it is from Atlanta, I am a little bit surprised of the growth this city has experienced. So, let's see here. Before I get to the rest of the demographics, this city has been rated the 7th happiest city in the state of Georgia, according to Zippia.com, and that rating was done in 2016. So it's fairly apparent that many people who desire to live in mid-Georgia have taken a liking to Centerville. Now let's say when it comes to mid-Georgia, the majority of the areas I went through in mid-Georgia, the ones that have the largest growth and therefore the more expensive real estate are going to typically be the places that are located north of Macon, like going towards Atlanta. This is one of those cities that, although it's over an hour from Atlanta, it's still, it's doing remarkable things. So anyhow, when it comes to the crime, violent crime is well below national average. Property crime, however, is a little high. Property crime is at 87% above national average. So they appear to have an issue with people running around and stealing stuff. So even in this nice city, it may not be a good hit. You might want to tell your kids that if they're not out riding their bike, you might want to tell your kids to put their bicycle back in the garage or storage shed or wherever it is you store stuff like that at your house. Because if they leave it out in the yard, there's a good chance that somebody will come by and walk off with it and then strip it down and scrap it. I could be wrong, but when I look at the property crime numbers, I'm just doing some speculation. Anyways, The racial demographics are going to be 62.3% white, 26.6% black, 3.9% Asian, and 4.8% Hispanic. Now, as far as it goes for, and before I forget, if you want to live in this beautiful city, housing prices are not going to be the cheapest. And it's not going to be the easiest chore to look for a house if you're trying to move here to Centerville. The median home price is sitting at $205,000. Now, as far as houses that are currently for sale, there is one house that's for sale for $159,000. That's going to be the only house that you're going to find for sale in this area for under $200,000. And then the next cheapest house that's for sale is going to run you $253,000. And so yeah, as far as houses that are already built and ready to go, there are not a lot of houses here for sale. It's safe to say that the housing market here is rather competitive because this is a highly desired city that many people who are interested in living in Central Georgia desire to live. Now, there are some new houses that are for sale that you can go ahead and get your financing stuff in order and then get with the builders or whatever, and then they'll build a house. Now, me personally, for starters, I'm not a fan of new houses because a lot of them are garbage. Unlike your older houses, with your newer houses, they don't use actual wood, they use sawdust. And even the houses that are brick, that brick they use is not real brick. It's more like, it's more like compressed concrete mixed in with a bunch of sand. It's not actual brick like your old school houses that were built out of brick. And then secondly, if you pay for the house in advance, as I understand it, by the time the house gets done, the builder has the option of raising the price because they might claim that the labor ran more than what they've anticipated, materials ran more than what they've anticipated. Whether they're being truthful or they're full of it, that's a whole nother conversation. But if you budgeted X amount of money for a house and then you're having to spend 50% beyond that amount of money, there's a lot of you out here that don't have that kind of money. There's a lot of you out here that are looking to buy a house, and although you might earn a decent income, there's a lot of you that are still stretching out your budget to purchase this nice house in the ideal neighborhood. So I just think personally there's way too many complications with purchasing a newly built house, like the one that hasn't even been built yet. Even if you buy one that's newly been built, that's ready to go, turn the key, move in, I would say even with those houses, there's a lot of complications you got to think about, such as how's the foundation gonna settle within the next 10 to 15 to 25 years? Are you gonna wake up one day and the doors don't shut properly, your windows don't open and close right, you got all kind of cracks in the wall, and now you're having to spend another $20,000, $30,000, or $40,000 on structural repairs because the builders who built your house did a piss poor job. They most likely didn't prep the ground properly. They didn't level the ground properly. On top of that, they used poor quality material, and maybe the workers that were on the site building were not qualified to do the work that they were hired to do by by the, by the CEO of the building company. Because I used to own a house in Lewisburg, Tennessee. I did. If you're interested in knowing about that story, I did briefly go into that story. So feel free to check out my Lewisburg, Tennessee videos. On that video, I did drive by the house I used to own. And I mean, it was basically, that house was that house, when I purchased it, it was brand new. And within the same year that I've had that house, there were all kind of crap that was going on with that house. Shingles started falling off the roof. The foundation was showing all type of cracks. The drywall on the interior of the house was starting to show cracks. And I noticed when I looked at the corners of my house, none of the angles were at 90 degrees. So, FYI, when you're looking at a house to purchase, especially if it's new construction, every angle that you look at, it should be 90 degrees. If it's anything other than 90 degrees, that means the house was built poorly. And then on top of that off, the air conditioner unit that I had, not only was it a used unit, and how do I know that it was used and not new? Because it ran out of Freon. An air conditioning unit that's new does not run out of Freon after only one season. And remind you, this was the first season of me using the air conditioning unit at that time. So not only did I learn that, but I also learned that the air conditioning unit that was on the house wasn't even equipped for the house. They actually took an air conditioning unit that was meant for an apartment building, and they put it on these new houses. And then, of course, one day I had a neighbor come and tell me that when they were building the house, they actually, all the debris that typically is accumulated when you tear up ground and you level it off and you get it ready for construction, like all the debris from that, along with all the personal garbage such as napkins, paper plates, or whatever the hell they ate while they were on the construction site, from what I've been told, a lot of that debris has been taken and they've basically mixed it in with the concrete, and that's how my patio was built. And then, of course, when I did my home inspection on this house, for starters, when the home inspector looked into the crawl space, there was a whole bunch of garbage that was in the crawl space from the construction workers. And on top of that, the crawl space didn't even have a proper vapor barrier on it. So basically the crawl space was just dirt with all their garbage and no vapor barrier. And remind you, Tennessee is a very humid state. So if that would have been left undetected, that house would have had mold in it in no time. And then on top of that, the house had a built-on deck for the patio, and the patio was not attached to the house. They did not properly attach the patio to the rest of the house. So, now this was back in 2008, and at that time I was in my late 20s, and I didn't know quite as much about houses as I do now. I'm not saying I'm an expert, but I'm saying I know a lot more today than I did back then. And if I would have known then what I know now, I would have just been like, you know what, I'm not buying the house. I would have completely backed out of the agreement, because those little mistakes that the home inspector detected would have indicated to me that these people do shabby work. They do shoddy work, and it wouldn't have made sense for me to buy that house. So I say all that just to try to get the point to you folks that if you choose to buy a new built home here in Centerville, Georgia, be extremely careful. Make sure the work is not shoddy. And if you're thinking about buying a newly built home and you're thinking about paying for it and getting all your finances in order before the house has even been built, basically, I'm telling you guys, don't do it. I think it's a dumb thing to do. And I'm going to keep it at that. So, moving forward. As far as it goes for entertainment, this city doesn't really have this city doesn't really have a whole lot of actual entertainment. I mean, for your entertainment, you have to drive into Macon. But as far as it goes for entertainment here, you got the Galleria Mall, which is the largest shopping mall in Central Georgia. So obviously, if you like to shop or you're a shopaholic, for all you ladies, there you go. Now, this mall opened in 1994, and there's apparently over 45 stores in the mall. And the mall is also connected to the Galleria Mall Stadium Cinema, which is the main movie theater in Centerville, Georgia. So, and as far as my 2 cents about this city, I mean, like I told you guys before, there's a lot of people that want to live out here. And I think this city is a nice city. I mean, I like it. I mean, the median home price isn't too expensive. But as I told you a second ago, there's not a whole lot to choose from at this point. And I honestly think having this area been closer to Atlanta, or it would have been closer to Savannah, a larger city that has a slightly bigger and better economy and infrastructure, this city would have been more like the median home price of this city would have been at least $150,000 higher than what it is currently. But given where this city is at, which is a little bit outside Macon, which, not to make fun of Macon, Georgia, but let's be real. Macon, Georgia doesn't quite have the strongest economy or the best infrastructure. And that's the reason why the housing prices here are cheaper. So yeah, I will say this is a nice city. But when it comes to those new constructions, just be extremely careful. I'm gonna leave it like that. And that's about all for my commentary. So you guys enjoy the rest of this drive. And remember to subscribe to my channel, because I will be putting out many more videos as I am doing more traveling. And if you want to help me out, all you gotta do is give these videos a thumbs up to help with the YouTube algorithm. And I thank every last one of you for tuning in and watching my videos. Obviously, that helps my channel grow. Without you guys, I wouldn't have a channel. And on that note, you guys have a blessed one, and I will see you on the next one. you.